my sister wives that I'm leaving.
TLC executives allegedly started conducting controlled interviews. That is, the producers presented each wife with a series of questions vetted by Kody himself. A leaked memo from those days indicates a directive that states, "Concentrate on Christine's confusion and Robyn's emotional drain. Avoid talk of money or personal autonomy." That was the breakpoint. The point Sister Wives ceased being a reality show and became a scripted drama masquerading as one. Even with all that manipulation, however, cracks were beginning to form. One session that year, Christine allegedly refused to take a seat in the interview chair. Crew members attempted to persuade her, explaining they only needed a few minutes of her reaction to Kody's comments. She stared directly at the producer and told him, "You want to know my opinion? Tell him to quit lying to the world." Then she left. That moment was never intended to make it onto the air, but a secret editor allegedly preserved the uncut footage. It's out there, somewhere in the archives of TLC. And in that instant, Christine did something no one else had the guts to do. She shattered the wall between the tale and the reality. Viewers picked up on something unusual in season 16. Christine's interviews suddenly appeared different. The lighting, the tone, even her vibe changed. That's because those interviews weren't taped in Flagstaff. They were taped after she'd already departed. TLC pretended like she was still around. They cut to her emotional footage as if it was from previous to the breakup. A falsehood constructed to make the storyline linger longer. The reality? Christine had long since relocated to Utah. They needed to pretend otherwise, because the official separation arc was still in creation. Christine did know. She went along just enough to place her voice on tape. After that, however, each frame was full of subtle defiance. In private, producers panicked. The women were evading them, and the network's grip was fraying. One source tells us there's a folder within TLC's production server titled "Hold for Legal." It holds clips that were too hot to broadcast, emotionally explicit, legally thorny, or too hurtful to Kody's reputation. The Sister Wives files are real. The network simply locked them away. Part 2 concludes where Christine's patience runs out. In her last off-camera remarks as she departed for the day, she murmured, "I'm not afraid anymore. You can't edit freedom." And then she left out of that room, for the last time. By season 17's production time, Sister Wives was not a family or religion show anymore. It had become a brand, a company, and according to several sources close to production, it was being tactfully rewritten to guard one man, Kody Brown. What audiences did not realize was that TLC had started scripting whole portions of the show. Not in the sense a drama would be scripted. There were no full lines or cue cards. But there were storyboards, scene outlines, and emotional beats the cast was supposed to hit. The audience watched what they believed were unscripted talks about marriage, devotion, and heartache. But backstage, the moments were staged. It began when Christine started drifting away. Producers panicked. The network had sunk millions into the Sister Wives brand. The ratings were falling, and Christine's autonomy was on the verge of destroying the icon of the polygamous family that functions. That's when TLC ordered what they called internally the Control Reset meeting. From leaked notes from one producer, the aim was straightforward. Reframe the family dynamic to save Kody's authority and Robyn's emotional anchor. Limit Christine's rebellion. Keep her sympathetic but lost. That's when they made a critical decision: to reorder the show around Kody's point of view. The new formula was straightforward. Each episode would open with Kody's frustration, build around the wives' reactions, and end with Robyn's sadness. Christine's voice, reduced to background commentary. Janelle's intelligence, edited into silence or compliance. Mary's pain, filtered through forgiveness arcs that made her seem passive. Kody's anger, reframed as pressure or stress. What TLC didn't expect was how quickly that formula would fall apart when Christine stopped playing her role. By 2021, Christine was flat out refusing to shoot some scenes. Producers got inventive. They began splicing together audio clips from earlier episodes and reusing them to plug holes in the narrative. That's correct. Some of the dialogues you heard on the air didn't happen in a single sitting at all. A production assistant who worked in the sound department explained, "We'd cut together lines from different days. Kody's words from one conversation, Christine's from another. The goal wasn't accuracy. The goal was emotion. It was emotion, but it was fake." The tension that viewers felt between Christine and Kody wasn't entirely organic. It was designed to build sympathy for Kody's frustration and exhaustion. But when Christine walked off set one night, the illusion shattered. That night changed everything. It was mid-season. The cast had all convened at Christine's house for what was meant to be a peaceful discussion about the future of the family. But Kody showed up in full control mode, pacing, furious, already defensive. Christine didn't stick to the script. Instead of delivering scripted questions concerning how to move forward, she stared him straight in the eye and said, "You don't want a wife, Kody. You want followers." There was a silence. Cameras rolled on. Kody slammed his hands on the table and shouted, "You're twisting everything. You're making me look like the bad guy." Christine shot back, "You don't need my help for that." That footage, raw and unscripted, was gold. But it also broke TLC's control. Executives argued for hours about whether to air it. Some said it would destroy the family's image completely. Others saw it as their ratings moment. Ultimately, they made a deal. They showed him in abbreviated form, removing the most incendiary portions. But the truth had gotten away. At the same time, backstage, Kody became paranoid. He began to ask for last word on his confessions. He demanded the right to approve questions prior to taping. TLC complied, and from that point forward, his interviews were tightly scripted monologues, closer to speeches than introspection. One of his own insiders characterizes him as a man acting in his own movie. He even started pitching plot lines to the network, ones where Christine was unstable, Janelle was cold, and Robyn was the sole wife who got family. Producers objected, but Kody had power. TLC had constructed the show around his name and his vision. Without him, the show couldn't go on. Or so they believed. As Christine started pulling away, something unexpected occurred. The viewers switched sides. Social media posts, reaction videos, fan forums, they all sympathized with Christine. She was the center of the show, the truth sayer, the one who had the courage to end the cycle. TLC attempted to hold her back, but the more they cut her up for editing, the stronger her narrative grew. And that scared the heck out of them. Because if Christine's rebellion worked, if viewers sided with her, the narrative of sister wives as a faith-based family story would collapse. The internal emails show panic. One line reads, "Christine's storyline cannot become the hero's journey. It threatens the entire family dynamic we've built." So they doubled down. They began highlighting Kody's tears, his confusion, his loneliness. They painted him as a broken man, misunderstood, betrayed, and lost. But even that wasn't enough. The more Kody spoke, the more he exposed. The control, the bitterness, the hypocrisy. And TLC was caught, because their cameras had already rolled too much. That's when something amazing began. The moment when the crew began taking sides with Christine. A handful of editors, sound technicians, and field producers began saving files in secret. Raw cuts, deleted confessionals, and behind-the-scenes moments. They named the folder the Sister Wives Files. Inside, uncensored arguments, secret truths, and raw interviews that revealed the true story, the one TLC never let you in on. And it was expanding every day. But the drama wasn't between Kody and Christine anymore. Secretly, Janelle had started asking questions herself about finances, contracts, and unpaid payments from TLC's production budget. The producers shunned her initially, but when she mentioned financial transparency while being part of a filmed discussion group, Kody lost his cool. That video, also, was sealed off. The reality was getting too risky to broadcast. And what followed next, the private meeting between Kody, Robyn, and TLC executives, would forever alter the show. It was the evening the future of Sister Wives was rewritten. When Sister Wives hit its lowest point in ratings, TLC executives weren't worried about family unity. They were worried about the show's survival. Christine had left, Janelle was drifting away, and Mary's storylines no longer drew sympathy. The family that once sold hope and harmony was now chaos on screen. Kody and Robyn saw that as an opportunity. It was a private gathering in a Flagstaff hotel late in 2021. It wasn't taped. It wasn't on the calendar. There were no crew, no cameras, no wives, just 3 individuals, Kody Brown, Robyn Brown, and 2 executives of TLC. On paper, it was a conversation about renewing the contract. But off the record, it was something different. The evening that placed the future direction of the show in Kody and Robyn's hands. The session went on for almost 3 hours. Leaked documents later from an insider in the production office indicated that continuity of narrative was the focus of the agreement. You ever have the sense that what we saw on Sister Wives wasn't all we got? That behind the forced family meals, behind the scripted chats and confessionals, something more was at play. Something the cameras picked up on, but we weren't supposed to see? Well, fasten your seatbelts, because tonight we open the Sister Wives files. What we didn't see on TLC may just rewrite everything we thought we knew about the Browns. Years the narrative was fed to fans, the public, sanitized Brown family. Kody, the patriarch who professed love and harmony. Mary, the devoted first wife holding on to a deteriorating connection. Janelle, the reserved practical mind attempting to maintain harmony. Christine, the matriarch of the family, smiling in grief. And Robyn, the self-proclaimed peacemaker who somehow always seemed to hold the most control. But suppose that there were times, conversations, and writings that painted a different picture. From sources that are close to the production, and leaked footage from what workers refer to as the lost season files, the Brown family's collapse did not start when Christine departed. It began years earlier, and TLC supposedly knew. It all starts in 2018, the year that the family relocated to Flagstaff. The show told us it was a new beginning, a new chapter. But behind-the-scenes internal production notes by crew members paint a different picture. From leaked call sheets, TLC's field producers were told to emphasize family conflict arcs and keep out footage of lengthy arguments off-script. In other words, they didn't want authentic conflict. They wanted conflict in control. But there was one time on a late-night shoot at Christine's residence that a camera continued rolling. You can hear it on the raw audio file, a murmur of argument, raised voices, the scrape of a chair on the floor. It wasn't about money. It wasn't even about jealousy. It was about control. Kody's voice is cutting. "You will not undermine me on camera." Christine fires back. "You want to talk about control? You already turned our family into a show." The production team ceased recording in public, but the microphone didn't shut off in time. That footage, sources say, was stored behind what's been dubbed the Brown Family Sensitive Archive, moments TLC owns legally, but will never broadcast. When producers watched the tapes, one insider said to us, "You could feel the power shift." That was the moment Christine stopped being part of the story and started seeing through it. TLC supposedly cut the whole night down to a brief clip about emotional tension. In fact, it was the first time Christine publicly pushed back against Kody's authority before a production team. And from then on, the show quietly changed. Less emphasis on the wives' dynamics with one another, more emphasis on Kody's family vision. In behind-the-scenes worlds, editors and crew members were divided. Some felt they needed to represent the truth, that Kody was skewing towards Robyn, that the other wives were quietly dissolving. Others insisted it would hurt the brand, so the truth went into storage. Flash forward a few months, TLC's camera team is taping a group scene. The family is in the process of talking about Coyote Pass finances. But what you don't get in the end cut is that prior to cameras rolling, there was a heated argument over money, namely, why certain funds had all of a sudden become off-limits. Christine, according to a leaked crew memo, refused to sit down until Kody explained why their family trust had been restructured. The scene filmed later that day showed Christine being emotional, hesitant, as if she was nervous about the future. But in the unedited version, she's furious. She says, "You've locked us out of our own accounts, Kody. That's not family. That's manipulation." That footage never aired. Rather, the show centered on how Christine didn't want to move to Flagstaff. TLC had transformed a betrayal of finances into a family feud. The further you get into the sister wives' files, the more it becomes apparent. TLC wasn't merely chronicling a family, they were calling the shots. Emails between editors and executive producers reportedly show repeated threats about protecting Kody's patriarch role. One note states, "Kody needs to be kept a sympathetic, central character. Don't cast him as abusive or neglectful. Conflict needs to be presented as mutual misunderstanding. That is, Christine's rage wasn't permitted to be righteous. Janelle's self-sufficiency wasn't empowerment, it was stubbornness. And Robyn's crying wasn't manipulation, it was empathy." The more Christine resisted, the more scenes were cut about her. The truth was filtered out, and the emotional truth of her life was obliterated. But eventually, the time TLC couldn't keep up the facade came in late 2020. The pandemic lockdowns provided the excuse for Kody to exert even more control. He made strict rules. He only went to one house, Robyn's. The show spun it as COVID caution. But since then, cast members have claimed Kody wouldn't let filming take place in any other house, insisting they're breaking the family rules. It wasn't about health. It was about control. And when Christine finally spoke out, when she stared straight into the camera during that dramatic season 16 moment and said, "I can't do marriage like this anymore," it wasn't staged. It wasn't rehearsed. It was authentic. She shattered the narrative. And for the first time ever, the cameras recorded reality rather than narrative. But here's the thing. That moment nearly didn't happen on TV. TLC editors consider removing Christine's brutal confession in their notes, according to one. One producer penned, "Too real. Ruins the Kody-Robyn dynamic for future arc." But Christine pushed back. She said, "If you edit this out, you're lying to the world again." And for once, TLC gave in. That was the first time Christine's reality made it past the cutting room. But dozens of others did not. And that's what this series, The Sister Wives Files, will reveal. What they shot, what they cut away, and why. Because behind every reality show is a reality they never show you. The public witnessed smiles, soothing music, and gentle interviews where everyone appeared relaxed. But the reality behind the scenes was much bleaker. The sister wives' confessionals weren't unplanned feelings caught on tape. They were carefully orchestrated, tightly scripted moments of damage control. Each time a wife sat in that familiar interview chair, beige background, soft lights, decor carefully placed, a producer would be sitting just off camera. Not questioning, guiding them. The crew referred to it as the filter chair, because nothing discussed in that chair was ever meant to go unfiltered. Dozens of confessionals made it to editing but never aired, a former crew member who worked on a number of seasons told us. They were cut, axed, or swapped out with less revealing takes. A lot of them were from one individual, Christine Brown. Christine was the most emotionally forthcoming among the crew, they said. When she talked, it wasn't scripted, it was honest. Sometimes too honest. In a 2019 unaired interview, Christine was said to have broken down in tears halfway through a question regarding Coyote Pass. She explained, "We were told it was ours, but the paperwork, it wasn't. I asked Kody to show me the documents and he said he'd handle it. He never did." That scene, as per a leaked editing sheet was noted. Remove, too confrontational, damages Kody's leadership tone. It did not air. Instead, audiences heard a serene Christine declare that she wasn't sure about the land. TLC made a financial deception into equivocal uncertainty. But Christine was not the only one whose reality was obliterated. Janelle's confessionals were among the most edited of all. Crew notes characterized her as too direct, too factual. In one of them, she allegedly stated, "Kody doesn't divide money fairly. We're all expected to put in, but it's distributed selectively. I don't even have access to some of the accounts." Anymore? Another cut that followed was, "It's not about love or togetherness anymore. It's about control." The whole segment was cut from the final version. In its stead, TLC ran a version in which Janelle smiled and said, "We just have different opinions about how to handle things. Different opinions." That's how they glossed over financial manipulation. Robyn, by contrast, was always shielded. Her interviews took place last, after everyone else's. Why? So producers could craft her answers to close narrative loops. Meaning, if Christine had something emotional to say, Robyn's interview would temper it, make her come across as misunderstood. In one of the leaked raw clips, Robyn allegedly said, "I don't get why the rest of them can't just trust Kody. He's working so hard to be our leader." Then she paused. She glanced off camera saying, "Can I say that, or does that sound too scripted?" The producer allegedly replied, "No, it's fine. Just keep going. You're the emotional anchor." The emotional anchor? That's how TLC labeled Robyn, the one who made Kody seem human. Christine and Janelle's pain wasn't emotion. It was conflict. Robyn's tears were storytelling. Another buried moment came from Mary, one of her most vulnerable. In a 2020 interview, she admitted, "I don't even know who I am to him anymore. I've been replaced, and I'm still here pretending." That confession hit too close to reality. It was marked sensitive and cut before air. In its place, TLC used a shot from a completely different interview where Mary said, "We're still working on things." The truth wasn't convenient. By 2021, things were coming to a boil. The wives no longer were going along with production. In simple English, TLC required a means of keeping sister wives alive, even without the wives who had borne the emotional burden of the show. Kody had a plan. He suggested a new direction, one centered on him and Robyn healing in the aftermath of betrayal. He explained to executives, "We can sell redemption. The family failed, but we didn't. The story doesn't have to end." Robyn supported him, casting it as a story of faith, forgiveness, and healing. But hidden in the small print of that agreement was something explosive, something that would grant Kody extraordinary power. A new provision: creative review rights to all family-related footage involving Kody and Robyn Brown. It allowed him to veto scenes, ask for changes, or insist that parts of footage never be shown. For the first time in history, the actor was his own censor. To producers who had been attempting to tell the truth, this was a nightmare. Several crew members quit within months. One editor allegedly refused to cut the footage according to the new guidelines, writing in her resignation note, "We're not making a reality show anymore. We're manufacturing a fantasy." But TLC moved forward, and that's when viewers began to notice something strange. Beginning in the next season, the tone changed greatly. Scenes with Christine and Janelle came off, as snapshots of a narrative told from the outside looking in. Their lines were frequently overlaid with Kody narration, distorting their motives, redefining their rage as confusion or childishness. When Christine said, "I deserve to be loved," the show cut it with Kody's confessional on her being emotional and impulsive. When Janelle declared, "I can't follow someone who doesn't respect me," Kody was quick to respond. They've forgotten what commitment means. It wasn't narrative. It was damage control. Backstage, meanwhile, Christine and Janelle were piecing their lives back together and slowly discovering how much of their reality had been obliterated. Christine began working with a small independent doc crew, filming her own personal footage and interviews. She dubbed it The Real Story. TLC didn't know it yet, but Christine was creating her own counter-narrative, one that would reveal what had been kept secret in the editing room for years. Janelle, always the introspective tactician, started gathering financial records. She wasn't seeking to sabotage Kody. She needed clarity. She wanted to see where the funds from Family Traditions LLC and Coyote Pass had ended up. That's when she discovered something shocking: a business account by the name of K&R Holdings. Those initials, Kody and Robyn. During the months after Christine left, Kody and Robyn had supposedly routed show revenue, family assets funds, and even promotional income into personal accounts. TLC knew but didn't act. As long as the story continued to shoot, they really didn't care who was running the money. Janelle approached a producer she felt she could trust with her discoveries. The producer assured her that they would look into it. 2 weeks passed and she was taken off shooting schedules. The silence was oppressive, but rumors had already been circulating online by then. Fans picked up on inconsistencies in the family's financial timeline, unaccounted assets, shifting property ownerships, and gaps in Kody's on-screen claims unexplained. TLC's response? Absolute lockdown. No public announcements. No financial talks. And most revealing of all, no fresh video from Janelle in nearly 6 months. She'd been quietly shut out. Back within the production offices of the show, the pressure was simmering. A select few of the crew had access to it all: raw tape, interview video, audio cutaway, and personal notes. They witnessed what was happening, how reality was being manipulated, and concluded they could no longer remain silent. That's when the Sister Wives files were born. It started with one anonymous drive labeled simply "Uncut." Inside were hours of unaired footage, Christine's raw arguments, Janelle's missing confessionals, and most shockingly, the unedited audio from Kody's angry outbursts. One of those outbursts, never seen by the public, reportedly showed Kody shouting, "You think you're the victims? You'd have nothing without me. Nothing!" That line was never intended to make it out of the cutting room. But it did. The leak circulated unobtrusively amongst fans, the media, and internet forums. Folks began piecing together clips, comparing sound bites, and spotting discrepancies between what TLC broadcast. For the first time, the illusion of the show began to unravel in real time. Christine remained mum in public, but her tweets started sporting veiled shots, ambiguous captions such as, "The truth always finds a way." Janelle, on the other hand, posted inspiring quotes about strengthening oneself. And then, late one night, there was a video online. Blurry, low resolution, but unmistakable. A voice that sounded like Kody's uttering, "They can leave if they want, but the money stays here." No one knew who leaked it. But it was when the internet blew up. TLC denied it. Kody remained silent. Robyn tearfully referred to it as a misunderstanding. But Christine and Janelle? They didn't deny it. Instead, Christine just uploaded a single line. "Sometimes silence says everything," is where this story gets emotional, because what happened next wasn't all about contracts, edits, or cash. It was about power. Christine and Janelle understood that in order to win, they didn't have to battle the network. They only had to share their story, uncensored, unedited, and authentic. The truth was out there now, and there was no putting it back. The instant the leak landed on the internet, all of that changed. The hashtags went off. Sister Wives Truth, Justice for Christine, Free Janelle. What once was a rumor on Reddit had grown into a phenomenon. Fans were demanding answers. TLC attempted to remain silent, but it was too late. The Sister Wives narrative was no longer theirs to dictate. The leaked document wasn't video. It wasn't sound. It was a piece of writing, an internal memo written in early 2021 with the subject line, "Family Trust Reallocation, Approval Confirmed." It was signed by two names that shocked everyone, Kody Brown and Robyn Brown. The report detailed how funds from Family Traditions LLC, the parent company in charge of the Browns' shared income, were quietly transferred into a new company, K&R Holdings, the same account Janelle had uncovered. The report contained specific date transfers, bank references, and even TLC royalty payouts. Every cent accounted for. Every dollar that was taken out of the family pool was diverted into that exclusive company. The figure, $1.8 million, and buried at the bottom of the page was one last line. Funds reallocation approved for preservation of active household and dependents. That is, Christine, Janelle, and their children had been excluded. When the document appeared online, everyone believed it to be a hoax at first. But within a matter of hours, supporters discovered matching LLC registration information in Arizona public records. The dates were correct. The signatures were correct. The company existed, and so did the betrayal. Christine never uttered a word in public, but those close to her said she saw it and wept. Not from shock, but from relief. Because for the first time there was evidence. For years, she'd been labeled as emotional, impulsive, and ungrateful. Now the paper trail spoke the truth. TLC scrambled to respond. Behind closed doors, executives panicked. Legal teams went into overdrive. The network tried to claim confidential financial documents had been misinterpreted, but that defense didn't hold up for long, because a second file dropped 2 days later. This one was titled, Post-Division Contract Adjustments. It uncovered a new secret contract between TLC and Kody, guaranteeing he'd stay on the show even if the other wives quit, with a 40% bump in personal pay. That meant while Christine and Janelle were struggling, he was getting a raise to describe their abandonment. The memo described it as a necessary measure to maintain continuity and emotional narrative. Audiences termed it exploitation. Christine and Janelle each broke their silence on the same day. Janelle went live first. Her voice was steady, calm, but her words were laced with years of anguish. We trusted the system. We trusted the contracts, the show, the idea that this would tell our story honestly. It didn't, and now you know why. Christine posted shortly after, her video filmed in her kitchen, the same spot where fans had once watched her cook family dinners. Her eyes glistened, but her tone was firm. I'm not angry anymore. I'm free. But freedom came at a cost. And if telling the truth means losing everything, then so be it. Her video went viral within hours. Millions of views, tens of thousands of comments. Fans weren't just sympathizing, they were outraged. Years of watching this family deteriorate, thinking it was all heartache. And it was, on a personal, financial, and emotional level. Behind the scenes at TLC, walls were coming down. Ratings were crashing, but viewership was skyrocketing for all the wrong reasons. People weren't tuning in for family values anymore. They were tuning in for the truth. Kody remained silent for days. When he finally spoke, it was in a carefully crafted clip that was uploaded to TLC's YouTube page. His message was defensive. A lot of what's being said isn't true. This family has been through a lot, and people forget I gave everything to them. I sacrificed more than anyone will ever understand. But it didn't resonate. The segment was ratioed into obscurity. Thousands of comments criticizing him, analyzing every line, cross-referencing it with the leaked footage. His apology came across as insincere, scripted. The mask had at last slipped. Off-camera, Christine and Janelle had one final trick up their sleeves. Do you recall the Sister Wives files? The drive containing all the unseen footage? It wasn't done to be provocative. It was a safeguard. That, a close source revealed, was because Christine's own independent team had obtained access to a number of those documents from a former editor. Inside them were hours of unedited footage of Kody yelling, contradicting himself, and even admitting to editing the truth for TV. The material was never intended for public viewing, but it was there. And Christine's team had evidence. They didn't air it all. They didn't have to. They aired just enough. One brief video came to light, Kody pacing in anger, growling, "They'll believe whatever we tell them. That's how this works." Those words ignited the internet. TLC released a statement in which they claimed the clip was taken out of context. But nobody cared. Context didn't matter. The truth was apparent. Christine had escaped. Janelle had revealed the figures. And Kody and Robyn's kingdom, their house of mirrors, was collapsing in real time. The repercussions were harsh. Mary quietly left the show without publicity. Robyn vanished from social media altogether. Kody attempted to plead his case on podcasts and interviews, but it was too late. Each word simply made him appear guiltier. At the same time, Christine and Janelle started filming their own special, not with TLC, but with an independent network. Working title, The Real Sister Wives, a tale told by the people who lived it. No scripts, no edits, just the truth. And in one teaser clip, Christine mentioned something that stopped fans' hearts. For years, we were told what to say, what to feel, but the cameras can't hide everything. And there's still one file they haven't seen yet. That one sentence shook the fandom. Was there a file? Was there a recording? Was there a secret? No one had any idea. TLC's lawyers allegedly contacted them, threatening legal consequences if more internal documents were released. But Christine's response was stark. You can't sue the truth. And with that, the whole Sister Wives saga came full circle. The family that previously professed to demonstrate love could be shared had instead revealed to the world what occurs when power takes over for compassion. Christine had found peace. Janelle had found purpose. And Kody, the would-be patriarch, had finally lost what mattered most to him, power. Closing narration, emotional tone. The courtroom lights went dark. The cameras ceased. The contracts expired. But the truth? It's still ringing. And perhaps that's what Sister Wives was always intended to be. Not a faith or marriage story, but an education on what occurs when the truth is finally set free. Christine used to say, "Love doesn't live in secrets." And now the secrets are gone. But what's taken their place is everything. Because while the cameras have stopped rolling for TLC, the Sister Wives files are anything but closed.